Yeah. Good morning, one and all. Yesterday, we have seen who the organizational buyer is, isn't it? And we also have seen organizational buying behavior. So I'll just recap. Organization buying is nothing but it is a decision-making process by which formal organizations they establish the need for purchased products and services, and then they identify, evaluate, and choose among alternative brands and suppliers. Okay, now today we shall see the nature and characteristics of organizational behavior. Yeah, we'll look into now nature, or you can call it as characteristics or features of organizational behavior. Number one, see, remember that organizational buying is not an individual decision making, but because organization itself is a group of people working for a common goal. Okay, so therefore, organizational buying is a group decision making process. Okay, in order to predict buying behavior of an organization, we must first know who will take part in the buying process, what criteria each member uses in evaluating prospective suppliers, okay, and what influence each member has in that decision making process. So remember that organization buying or organizational buying is a group decision making process. Number two, organizational buyer is motivated by both rational and quantitative criteria. Okay, rational and quantitative criteria dominant in all organizational decisions, right? So because no, the decision has to be made by the people, and they may be subjected to many. Some may be more, some may be using emotional criteria in buying the no some products for the organization. So therefore, they have to sit together, and they should think about what is good for the organization, and based on the data, quantitative data they have, then they have to make decision. Okay, third one is organizational buying decisions. They involve a range of complex technical dimensions. Okay, for example, the electronic system, the acoustics of the interior, and the shape of the dashboard. These are some of the considerations. If a purchase manager for Maruti Suzuki automobiles have to look, so he'll look after these technical factors. Okay, and the fourth one is organizational decision process. They frequently spans a considerable time. Okay, creating a significant lag between marketers' initial contact with the consumer and the purchasing decision. Okay, it's because no many new factors they enter in the picture during this lag. So the marketer's ability to monitor and adjust to these changes is very critical. So therefore, a considerable time he takes to take decision, right? The manager, right? Next is every organization, yes, as you all know, is very unique, very dynamic. Okay, we cannot group into some no, precise categories like this is of a particular category and all. So each organization has its own characteristic way of functioning, and it has own personality. They have unique structures, cultures, values, and no objectives and the resources. Okay, so therefore no their needs, their demands, they differ, and hence different buying processes and behavior will find. So this is all about nature and characteristics of organizational buyer or buying behavior, right? Then we'll look, that is nature, and then we'll look into the characteristics. Number one is derived demand. So what actually is derived demand? It is a scenario wherein the demand for one product is dependent on the demand for its final product for sale. Okay. Now, for example, demand for air conditioner. Okay, let us take a demand of air conditioner, compressor. Then no, air conditioned compressor is determined according to the demand for the ACs made by the consumer. Okay, so the derived demand may be single layered sometimes or multi-layered. Okay, like no, for example, Unlimited, Reliance Trends, West Side, etc. They purchase their apparel merchandise from different sources to be sold to the ready-made garment customers. So the derived demand in such cases may be deemed as single layer. Okay. For a manufacturing organizations, the derived demand may be usually multi-layer. Yeah. So therefore, the prediction of demand, it depends on number of organizations involved in this supply chain. Okay. Next is geographic concentration. Right, so it is very common to see that specific geographic area they are designated as industrial zones, in which many industrial units are located. The synergy derived during this concentric location is a major attraction for the industrial organizations being located in a concentric zone, special economic zones defined. So they are therefore organizational buyers, they remain concentrated in that geographical area. Okay, therefore, no, consumers remain dispersed. Nature and size of buyers is the third characteristics of organizational buying behavior. Okay, see, the number of organizational buyers, they remain small when compared to individual customers or consumers, right? But volume of sale is large. So organizational marketers, they focus more on the efforts on a very small number of main buyers who buy goods and services in large volume, paying big amount of price. Okay. Then the fourth one is direct channel of distribution. See, usually organizational buyers are approached by direct or short or indirect channels of distribution. Okay, let us see in case of high technology products. The use of government agencies also is one of the alternatives used. So in some cases, joint ventures, technical collaborations, or licensing arrangements, or a memorandum of understandings, that is the MOUs. These are all involved, they are used. Okay, so that is what we find, direct channel of distribution. Excuse me. Next is rational buying and use of economical and technical criteria. Now, see, organizational buyers, they use rational, what is right for them, what is wrong for them. So use rational in buying goods and services compared to ultimate consumers. So use of objective criteria in an organizational necessity as a purchase have cost and quality implications. They become very aware of quality, services, delivery, price, such things of any product. And in that, price is the dominating factor. Okay. Now others, like quality, services, delivery, and these other factors, though they remain equal, but price is the most dominating factor they consider. Next is professional buying to meet specific requirements. See, organizational behaviors, buyers are very systematic, they are very rational, and they are very professional. They are skilled professionals having no necessity or what we can say necessary technical competencies they have, and also an experience, right? So they undergo frequent trainings on buying process, contract, material management, and legal aspects of buying. So we find very professionalism in their buying process. Okay. Next, the characteristic is complexity of buying due to risk associated with the purchases. Now, complexity is another characteristics, right? Under this process, different persons participate at different levels in the buying decision. So it is usually a multi-department decisions in order to account for different dimensions of the purchase. So the primary objective of such exercise, no multi-layered exercise, is to ensure that objectivity, yeah, and adherence to organizational goals, because no each organization has a vision, mission statement and all, no, so they adhere to those organizational goals. Accordingly, they do the exercise of multi-layered buying process. Okay, next is negotiations and reciprocal buy, right? See, major organizational buyers, what they do, they prefer sir, I can hear, no, I request the host to please mute. Yeah, thank you. So we are talking about negotiations and reciprocal buying, right? See, major organizational buyers, they prefer detailed, no, detailed negotiations and prolonged negotiations in order to ensure that the purchase decisions they make is very advantageous, no, advantageous situation to the buyers. Okay, so in some cases, so in some cases, no, reciprocal buying arrangement are entered so that no to reduce the risk involved in that, and no, and to ensure that mutual benefits of both buyers and sellers take place. So this kind of arrangement is very feasible under the conditions of technology transfer. So remember that if there is any technological transfer, these conditions of reciprocal buying is very beneficial. Okay, for example, Foxconn gets license and components or Apple iPhone to be produced in India and other countries, and then they sell the produced smartphones to Apple for their markets in the different countries. Okay, so this is what things happen. So we usually find the difference between individual consumers or buyers, we do say, or organizational buyers. So let us just see the main differences between these two. Okay, first, when we take consumer buyers, the demand for consumer products is direct, right? And it has impact on the derived demand or organizational, no, for demand for organizational buyers. Whereas this organizational buying is heavily influenced by uh, derived demand. So I don't, you know, AC compressor, its demand no depends upon the product AC. So if ACs are sold more in number, then there is a possibility of this AC compressor being sold more. Okay, so therefore organizational buyers, they are being influenced by derived demand. Okay. Next, when we look into the consumer buying, it consists of activities involved in buying and using of products for personal use or some household use, no, kitchenware, no, bed sheets or such things, right? Whereas organizational buyers, their main purpose would be again to make some finished goods, manufacture and then deliver those goods and services. So in turn, right? Then consumer behavior, when we look, it is a very complex and emotional, because no, as a consumer myself, no, I'm being influenced by no culture, social, personal, and psychological factors. So, and it may change from situation to situation, from time to time, and all. So, consumer behavior is very complex one, and it's very emotional. But whereas this organization, I know it's a complex one, but we can make it a very simple by a multi-layer decision or in a very formalized way. we can make the decision process very simpler. Okay. Next, when we look to consumer decisions in the consumer process or consumer buying process, individual decisions, they are in majority, but here in organizational buying, they are group decisions. Okay. And through formal process, because you have no top level, middle level, low level, whatever, no, the flow would be upward a communication or downward communication. Then they make a consensus or what to be supplied to them and all such things. So it's a formalized way. Whereas no, in consumer, decisions are individual, right? Right. Next, no, relatively risks are involved in the purchase of goods and services by consumers are low. Whereas no, in organizational, high risk are involved. Even a single mistakes, it may cause them drastically. Okay. Consumer markets are generally widely distributed. When you take, India, it's a vast country, a vast number of consumers are there. But whereas organizations or companies or units or medium scale industries or small scale industries, they are very geographically concentrated and they are very few in number when compared to individual consumers. And see, consumers, as I told you, they are vast in a number and they prefer heterogeneous products. They know the variety of products and goods and services. But in organizational behavior, they are few in number and homogeneous products. They buy in large volumes or large quantities. It is very common to find consumer characterized by no elastic demands. As a consumer wants to take advantage, they take the advantage. If they see that fall in prices, they go and buy more. But such things is not found in organizational buyer behavior. So such are the differences between no individual consumers and organizational buyers. Okay. Then when we see types of organizational buyers, we have industrial buyers. Okay, otherwise we call them as organizational buyers, right? Now, see, producers, what they do, they buy raw materials, machinery, components, some tools or some spare parts, etc., from other producers, and then they produce and make another product, and then ultimately it will reach to the consumers. Okay, their main objective is to purchase products that will enable them to produce. Okay, that will help them to produce and then market it to the ultimate consumers. So this is organizational buyers, or we call them as industrial buyers. That means to convert raw materials into finished goods, whatever machinery they need, they buy. And then they make a finished goods and then they'll sell it to the ultimate consumer. So this is one kind of organizational buyer. And then we have institutional buyers. Okay, another type of organizational buyers. Institutional buyers, so like a Red Cross, UNICEF, hospitals, charitable organizations, like ISKCON and all, and even universities, colleges, clubs, likewise. What they are all engaged in non-profit organizations. They buy in huge quantity, like government also and other organizations, and they buy in huge quantity and then they serve the beneficiaries. Okay, so this is happening. Next, we have third type of organizational buyer. We call them as intermediate buyers. They are also known as sometimes resellers. Their main purpose is to transfer products to a supply chain, adding value to them. Okay, adding value to them. Okay, if the company buys some specialized equipment according to specifications and then resells it to customers based on high quality and reliability, then the marketing will be different. So intermediate buyers, they are individuals or sometimes no firms who or they buy in large amounts, large products or sometimes raw materials for distribution to the end users. Now, for example, let us see in a steel industry, right? An intermediate buyer, what is a company that purchases scrap metal. Okay, scrap metal from scrap yards here and there around the country. They just buy from them. And then that scrap is sold to manufacturers, right? And then manufacturers, they produce parts required to that manufacturing unit. And then this is how they can save time and money, right? Then they'll make a finished products and then they'll say, so these are the intermediate buyers. Okay, next category of organizational buyers, no, they are government or public sector organizations. See, government also needs something to run its machinery, and public sector also they need some things, no, like we have public sector operating organizations like BSNL, we have railways, we have LIC, some public sector banks are there. So they need some inputs, right? It may be in the form of raw materials or components or parts or tools or machinery or no, all such requirements they need, right? So in this in this economy, we find that government is the biggest consumer. They require different products to support administrative work of very different wings or different ministries, we can say. So then they need huge quantity of goods and services because they have some agenda for them, to meet the to do or to meet the social welfare needs of the society, what they have promised during the elections and all. So they buy in huge quantities. Okay, so they can make some contracts or some MOUs and all. Then in that process, in that way, they give it to the ultimate beneficiaries. Okay, now what are the factors influencing organizational buying behavior? This is another topic. Now, see, we all know, any business is influenced by its internal environment as well as external environment. We do say internal factors or external factors. So likewise, organizational also is influenced by internal factors within the organization, within the boundaries of organization, and outside the boundaries of the organization, that is external. Okay, so there are external and internal factors which are affecting organizational buying behavior, like government policies, then industrial changes, organizational values, then learning the decision makers, their experience. Likewise, the business marketers, they need to understand these factors because they have to design a marketing strategy different to an individual consumer and different to a organizational buyers. Okay, now when we look into external factors, we find economic situation, domestic and global environment, government policy, especially with reference to industrial development, then the taxation policy in the country, the competitive environment, the technological development, and the trade relations with the supplier countries. All these things, they are influencing the organizational purchasing. Now, when we look into an example, say if an organizational buyer feels that the government is going to increase the tax, if they are trying to increase a tax on industrial buying, then there's a likely to increase in the near future. So buying of material will increase as buying will become costly in future. So due to tax burden, they start buying it now itself because they have predicted that the prices may rise. Okay. The second one is organizational factors. See, when we look into external factors, not just economic environment, social environment, no, the culture, the values of the communities, then political environment, no, if it's a communist country, if it is a capitalist country, or if it is a mixed economy, no, that political situation also affects. Then legal environment, no, the laws of that pertaining in that particular country, then infrastructure, the roads, the dams, the electricity, and all these things, they definitely affect the purchase behavior of a organization. Then when we look into organizational factors, see the main, no, we can call it as an internal one, because no, the goals and objectives, the vision of the organization, the mission statement of the organization, the rules and regulations followed in the organization, the policies they make, the procedures they design, how the organizational structure is, how the top level would be working and the middle level will be working, and then the lower level are, and how, what is the financial position of that particular organization. So these are also different various factors which we will influence organizational purchasing. Then third category, when we say it's an internal, or we can call it as interpersonal factors, the status and authority of a particular set of people in the organization, what authority and accountability and responsibility that person has in an organization, and his or her involvement, and how he pursues with the supplier countries or other suppliers in and around his environment, and how we negotiate, what are the buying role of that organizer. So all these internal personal factors also will influence decision making process. And then we have the last one is individual factors. So because we say organization is a group of individuals, so individual factors also influence it. Not the education level of that of employees in that, the expertise they have, or the experience they possess, the job position they hold, the attitudes, their attitudes towards risk and uncertainties. So all these matters in making organizational purchases. So hope till here you're all following. We'll move further to organizational buying situations. See, organizational buying situations or behavior is always influenced by the decision makers, who the decision makers are. Okay, see, we in this category of we have to know organizational buying situations. In that we have 4 situations: straight rebuy situation, modified rebuy situation, new task buy situation, and the 4th one is systems buy situation. We'll see straight rebuy situation. See, it is very simplest situation where organization reorders a good or services without any modifications. Okay, without any modifications, they just reorder the goods and services. So it's a straight rebuy situation. So these transactions are very routine in nature, and the task involved is very low by the for the purchase department, and the departments, they get requisition from inventory control department or section to reorder the raw material or the item they need. What they do, they just seek quotations from vendors in an approved list, and then orders are placed for office supplies and raw materials and other items, and in a routine manner it goes on happening. So it's a straight rebuy situation, very simplest, without any modifications, they just order it. Okay, then we have modified rebuy. So name itself is saying that the buyer, he will reorder a product but with some modifications. So change this or change that, like that, with specifications of some product, or services related to the delivery, whatever, no, or change in the product or packing or whatever it is, some modifications they want, and that modifications, the intention they will send to the supplier and then they buy. So modify, rebuy. Next is the new task buy. Now, in this situation, the buyer is buying product for the first time because new task, no, they are buying for the first time. When a task is performed, items may be bought without previous experience. No, because they are buying it for the first time. This could be new machines, especially, like computers or laptops, even smartphones nowadays, or fax machines. The need for such product, they have not have occurred very, very previously, we can say. For a new task, a new setup would be there, new items are necessary, which may not be purchased before. Okay, so therefore it's a new task buy situation. That is, remember that they are buying it for the first time without any experience. Right. Next, we'll move to systems buy. See, systems buy, we call it as a solution sale also. It's nothing but it is again a process in which what our organizations are doing, they are making a single order to a single organization for supplying a full system, right? See, the buying organization wants the system seller to engineer the system, procure the units from other vendors, and assemble, fabricate, or construct the system. Okay. See, so no, in these processes, the buyer may be interested in a provider, no, in a provider who is offering a complete package, a complete solution for the business problem. Now, for example, just if we take, in a small example, if you want to have a travel plan to some Kashmir and all, then we look for a package, 5 days package, four nights and 5 days of package, because every, so we need not worry about the accommodation there or the breakfast there or a guide there, and also therefore we look for a package. So that is what here it is, for the complete package they look for, a complete solution for the business problem they look, and they buy. So we call that as a systems buy. Now, see, organizational buying, if we can explain it with different models, especially, four models, like buy grid framework model, Fisher's model, third is Webster and Wind model, and the fourth one is Jagdish and Sheth model. These are the four models by which we can understand organizational buying behavior in a very comprehensive way, in a very integrated way. Okay. Right. So first we look into buy grid framework model. This is the model developed by a Canadian in 1967. Not just Canadian, but American and Israeli marketing researchers, Robinson, Farris, and Witt. These three people, they have introduced this by grid framework. It's really a conceptual model. All concepts are involved in that. So what they did is that Robinson, Farris, and Wing, they saw that industrial buying not as a single event, but as an organizational decision-making process, wherein multiple individuals, they decide for a purchase. Multiple individuals at all levels, they decide what to buy. Okay. Their framework, it consists of matrix of buy classes and buy phases. So we just say it's not a single event, but it's a multiple individuals deciding on a purchase, right? Now again, in this same, that is Three categories we have: new task, that is they are buying for the first time. Second is modified rebuy. These buyers, they want some replacements in their product. So therefore, they just say that please make these modifications, please make these changes. We want these items in this form. Then they'll just modify and then they will sell. So they'll rebuy it. So modified rebuy. And then the straight rebuy, as I told you, without any modifications, they buy from the suppliers. So based on this field research, they have made some 8 phases. One is recognition of the organizational problem or need, first thing. Second is determination of the characteristics of the item and the quantity they need. Third one is description of the characteristics of the item and the quantity they needed. Fourth is search for potential sources or qualified sources, we can say. So potential sources. Fifth being acquisition and analysis of proposals. Then we have to evaluate those proposals which come, and then from that proposals, selecting the best supplier, and then selection of an order routine, and lastly, feedback and evaluation. Okay, so these phases, they have, these are the buying phases in organizational buying done by Robinson, Phase and Wind. Okay, so that's why it's called as the buy grid model. Now, when we look into Fisher's model of organizational behavior, it's a model, you know, based majorly on 2 factors. One is product complexity, and the other one is commercial uncertainty. So these combinations, when you combine, you have 4 situations, right? What are those? Product complexity is low, that is one situation. Then we have high product complexity, that is second situation. Okay, low product complexity, 1. High product complexity, 2. Third is a low commercial uncertainty, 3. And fourth one is high commercial uncertainty. And as Fisher, he has identified some characteristics at each situation. See, when we look into low complexity, now when we look into low complexity of a product, see, the characteristics here in this situation is the standard product we find technically very simple, and it's an established product. And remember that it is previously purchased and very easy to install, and there is no after sale services. So that's why, you know, complexity of the product is very low. And the second situation is high product complexity. Now, in which technically complicated one is there. New product we buy because no experience till then, and it's a different product. So we didn't buy it previously. So totally it's a new product. So therefore, they look for installation, but which is very difficult. And then after sales service also they need very frequently because they are using it for the first time. So they may undergo some complexities during their process. So therefore, frequent after sales services they need. That is the second situation. The third situation is low commercial uncertainty. Now in this, very low investment is there, and they place very small order, and only short-term commitment would be there, and small effect of profitability, but we can easily forecast how the situation would be in the near future. Then we look into the fourth category, we call it as high commercial uncertainty, in which high investment would be there, larger order will be placed, and long-term commitment would be there, and some adjustments they have to make, and there's a large effect on profitability, but it's very hard to forecast. So these are the 4 situations in Fisher's model is explaining us. Okay, then we have the third model, we call it as Webster and Wind model, right? Now, this is very comprehensive model in which we have 4 sets of variables. Again here, one is environmental. The environment, as you know, business is an entity in which internal factors will influence and well as external factors will influence. So environmental factor is there. And the second one is organizational. And third one is buying center. And then the fourth one is individual, which definitely is affecting the buying decision process in any company, in any firm, in any organization. Okay. So when we look into these things, we have a buying center which consists of all the persons, okay, who are involved in this decision making for purchases for the organization. And we have here people playing different roles. Role of an initiator, they just ignited or initiate a process. So we have initiators, we have users, we have influencers, we have deciders, we have approvers, we have buyers, and then gatekeepers. Okay, so we'll look into who the initiators are. Yeah, these people who usually see the need for the product. In turn, a supplier arises from the users. But that means, see, but there can be occasions when top management, maintenance, or the engineering department or any other, they recognize or they feel the need. So these people who usually initiate, or you can say a start, no? When we start, no, this uh, like uh, pumping tools, yeah, initiated or ignited the buying process. So we call them, no, by name itself is saying initiators, they are initiating the buying process. That means they are recognizing the need for that product or the item. Okay, second one are users. Now this users of various products, they come under this category, users. They are technically very sound. They belong to R&D department, research and development department, engineering department, who can also communicate well. They play a vital role in this buying process because they sometimes, they act as initiators also, because they are involved in research and development. They know what things they need and all. They felt that this need and item is essential also. So sometimes they behave like an initiator as well. That is second category, users. And third category are buyers. They are the people who have formal authority to select the supplier. Okay, no, their position, their authority, they give they give them a right to buy a product. They can take decisions, right? So they arrange uh, uh, some purchase items. They play a very important role in selecting vendors, in selecting suppliers, and sometimes in selecting the products as well, and the product modifications they need, they'll also say, and product specifications are also told by these buyers. Next category is influencers. See, who will influence? See, if my brother is very good in technically, definitely I'll ask my brother to please help me in whatever technical difficulties I face during taking this lecture as and when required, isn't it? So he would be influencing my lecture process. So this is what is influencer. Influencer is nothing but a technical personnel or expertise people, we can say, or expertise or expertise men and consultants, sometimes qualified engineers. They will help us. They'll help the influencer, help the buying purchase, or they tell the buyers to take this decision. No, technically this product is good, or this is not good. This may need some modifications. Likewise, such suggestions are given to the buyers. So they are influencing the buying decision process. Hence, we call them as influencers. Then we have deciders. See, among these members, the marketing person must be aware of the decisions in the organization, and he should try to reach and maintain contacts with the regular suppliers. Okay. See, because they have to rebuy, and then convert into finished goods and sell it to the ultimate consumer, right? So people who decide on product requirements, specifications, and suppliers, we call them as deciders. They are the ultimate people who tells that this is best for the organization. Okay. Next is approvers. See, approvers, these are the people who are authorized the proposed action of deciders or buyers as approvers. They could also be personnel from top management or CEO or MD. Yeah, he will be taking uh, decisions, no, from different departments. He consult and then he takes decisions. So these are the people who authorize the proposed action, right? Especially of deciders. And the last one is gatekeeper. See, gatekeeper is a person who will filter all the information. He's the one the marketer has to pass through before he reaches the decision makers. So understanding the gatekeeper is very critical in the development, no, of industrial marketing strategies, and especially the salesperson's approach, because they allow only that information favorable to their opinion to flow to the decision makers. So such 7 categories of people are involved in buying decision process. Okay. Then we have last model, that is Jagdish and Sheth model. See, this model, no, it consists of 3 different aspects. Number 1 is psychological world of the individuals. Second one is conditions which precipitate joint decisions. And the third is that process of joint decision making with the inevitable conflict among the decision makers and its resolution by sorting to a variety of tactics. Okay, see, generally, in an industrial setting, one finds that there is at least 3 departments whose members are continuously involved in different phases of the buying process. It may be personnel from purchasing, quality control, and manufacturing departments. They will be continuously working, no? Purchasing, quality control, and manufacturing departments. So these individuals are identified in the model as purchasing agents. See, this purchase personnel, no, people from purchasing department, quality control department, and manufacturing department, we are categorizing them as purchasing agents. Okay, engineers and users, right? So these people will interact among themselves and then jointly they make a decision, right? So this is what the sheet model is saying. When looking into this, we have to look for some individual expectations. Some factors would be influencing them. One is background of the individuals, their educational background, the task expectations, the lifestyles of these individuals. That is one. Then the difference in the sources and type of supplier information that is received by individuals. Then we have selective distortion and retention of available information. And the fourth one is satisfaction with the past purchases. So when we look into these the factors, what individual is expecting, we can just come out with a framework. Okay. See. Yeah, what are the stages of organizational buying? Number 1 is problem recognition. See, any organizational buying process, it begins with when someone in the organization recognize a problem or some need, okay, that we can acquire by a goods or service. Then that problem recognition, it's a first thing which occur and which occur as a result of internal inputs or external inputs. External inputs can be presented by a salesperson. And the second one, any ad or any information or any trade show That will help you to know the need or problem. Okay, so first being the stage of problem recognition. And the second one is general need description. When we have known the problem, when we have known a need, then we need to describe that need. See, if you are feeling thirsty, that's your need. Then you have to know how you can quench that thirst. If you just drink a glass of water or Coca-Cola or as such or coconut water, so that depends on you, isn't it? So you have to describe the need and find out the solution, right? So general need description. After knowing the need, or you have to add further refinement to that need, and then you have to describe it. Okay, so how it is possible when you work with engineers, when you work with users, when you work with purchasing agents, no, or when you work with some other identical persons like that, then need for recognition is possible, and you try to get information from such sources before deciding the detailed product specifications. Okay, then the third being is product specification. So technical specification of the products, it's a third stage, and it is the exclusive responsibility of engineering department, because they have to design various alternatives, and the priority list must be prepared to establish the need description. Okay, then fourth one is supplier search. So after knowing that, who would supply you the particular product with whatever specifications you have made, who is the best vendor in your arena, yeah, in your vicinity of your organization, right? The buyer can examine trade directories, or they can do a computer googling and all, computer search, or they can phone other companies for such recommendations. All such things they have to look for an appropriate vendor or supplier. So marketers, they have to participate in this stage by contacting possible leaders in the market, and they have to take their support. They should contact the buyer, sometimes directly or sometimes indirectly, but they should look for an appropriate vendor. Next is proposal solicitation. See, qualified suppliers, they are there, they are invited. Then you will submit them your proposal. Then the suppliers, they'll give you a catalog, or he may send a sales representative. Then sales representative will explain you all the things. Then you'll develop a kind of a yes to that proposal, right? Then that proposal, you try to compare it with other proposals given by other vendors and all, and then you will see that which is best, which proposal sent by which vendor is good. Okay, to that extent you come, and then lastly you will select the supplier. So that is the last stage, that is supplier selection. So what at this stage you are doing, you are screening all the proposals, and from the different alternatives of suppliers and their proposals, you have screened and best one you have chosen, right? So this is what is selection of supplier. So some suppliers, they may be old suppliers and already they are listed in your register. Then you will try to contact them only. If you want a new supplier, you have to again consider some criteria, like what price they are giving you, whether they are reliable, that they will give you on the delivery date mentioned by you, and the quality you are proposing and maintenance of the quality is being given to you by that particular supplier consistently, not just to get the first impression. He might have given you a good quality raw materials, but in the later stage he is just providing whatever he has, all the spoiled one, or as such the ruined ones, and not so qualitative one to you. So you have to see that inconsistency of quality is maintained by the supplier or not. Okay, then fourth, what you have to see is whether the supplier's reputation in the market is good with regard to delivery, with regard to price, with regard to quality. Yeah, that you have to see that name and fame of the supplier is prevailing in the market or not. Okay, whether you have, whether that supplier is in the good books of the companies in that particular market. Okay. Then you have to see quick response to the needs of the customers. So when you are giving a feedback to modify a particular product, whether he is doing it in instantly or not, whether he is responsible, whether his response is quick or not. Okay. Then capability of the supplier to supply regularly on increase on demand. Suppose if your demand for your product is increasing and you need more supplies of raw material, then whether he is in a position to supply uh, whatever the quantity you need to meet that demand, whether he's capable or not, that also you have to see. Then flexibility, no, suppliers flexibility also, that means no, when demand is more, supplying more. When demand is less, he's okay, he's reducing it and he's happy with you. Okay, accordingly he's behaving, that also you have to see. Then consistency in dealing with the supplies, and then rejection rates also. You should see that if the proposal is rejected, he should know why it is rejected, and he should act on it and then provide best reliable, qualitative and low price and in time the supplies needed by your organization. So these things uh, you have to see. Okay, you have to check. So we'll just have a recap of what we have learned. Okay, takeaway of today's lesson, that yeah, organizational buying behavior is rational. It is very complex and it always depends on buying situations, no, key nature of purchase, role of individual versus group participating in the decision making process. And we have also seen the difference between individual consumers as well as organizational consumers. Then no, we have also seen the buying center and who are the people who are influencing the buying decisions, like initiators, users, buyers, influencers and all. And most important thing what we have seen is the impact of situational factors like rebuy, no, problem recognition situations, right? We have seen different models of organizational behavior. Though organizational, no, is deemed to be rational to a great extent, but still we find that personal factors are affecting the participants in the decision making, because we have people at top level, middle level and low level, so they will be influencing the decision making process, so which is very critical, right? And we have a multiplicity of factors interacting with the business buying decision process, organizational buying decision process. And then it is very necessary for us or for the organization to look out for risk involved in it, so that they can reduce the risk and they can improve the vendor reliability, especially based on supplier credibility as well as dependability. Okay, so these are the takeaways of today's lesson. If you have any queries, you're welcome. Vinod Jakula.
No, ma'am. No questions from my end.
Okay, fine. Then tomorrow we'll look after whole buying process, in which we will be looking about problem recognition and information search behavior. And then we will see how evaluation of alternatives and how the consumer will choose from that different alternatives. And then we look into purchase process as well as post purchase behavior also. Okay, so that we should understand how the consumer decision making model would be, and we We should know the stages of decision making and what are the different variables that are affecting decision process. Okay, and what are the different types of consumer decision making. So all these things that we'll see tomorrow. Okay. So have a nice day. Thank you for your patience listening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, tomorrow was like next week will be the right class.
Yeah, next week. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, next
Yeah.
Saturday.
Okay, okay. Ma'am, can we ask out of box questions? Actually, we are a bit confused regarding our project. Could you please
Okay.
help us?
Yeah, definitely
Actually,
you can ask about your research project as well. Okay.
okay, okay, ma'am. But actually, here our problem is like we are like confused state to start the project itself. Like we are not aware who is our guide and all.
Hello?
Ma'am, actually, we are not aware about how to approach, how to start the project, and who is our guide and all. Like in that scenario.
Okay. I'll just talk to the concerned authorities and I'll let you know. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, okay. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, can we know your contact number so that we can check with you once you have any update?
Sure, sure. I'll share you next week. Okay. No
Okay, okay,
problem.
ma'am. Okay,
Otherwise,
okay,
you
ma'am.
can write. It's 92471.
Oh, just a moment, ma'am.
Yeah.
92749.
No, no. 92471
Okay, okay.
39101.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Just a moment, ma'am. If possible. Sorry, I'm bothering you, ma'am. Please tell me, ma'am, now.
Yeah. 92
Nine two
471
four seven one 39
39101.
101. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. We'll
And
join in the
anything
next
you
meeting.
if I'm not wrong.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you. See you
And
and all the
have
best. Yeah.
thank you, ma'am. Have a great day, ma'am. Bye bye.